Hey, this is Lance with 20-Sided Night, and today we're going over what is crafting in Starfinder. Before we begin, I just want to remind you all to like, share, and subscribe to be entered into our monthly giveaway. For November, we're giving away a copy of the Alien Archive 2. Crafting starts on page 235 of the Starfinder core rulebook. And a few things after reviewing crafting, it's not as great as I remember it being. It could definitely use some improvements. Could definitely take a page out of the book of Xanathar's Guide to Everything from Dungeons & Dragons. But it doesn't save any money, which was the first bummer. This is because of the ease of access that large-scale manufacturers are able to enjoy because of drones or huge labor industries or robots, things like that. So mass-producing items is typically cheaper or at the very most the same price as a custom crafted weapon, probably a bit cheaper. Like how you can pick up a suit at Walmart that looks okay for an entry-level job interview, or you would go to, I don't know, some Italian guy to get a custom-made suits for a huge amount more. Crafted items do have the potential of being a lot better than mass-produced items, but at the beginning stages, there's no real reason to stray too far off the pack. There are skill requirements for it, and they do make a lot of sense here. Engineering is for things like armor, weapons, certain technological equipment, and vehicles. If you do want to restore your space Chevy or your space Honda. Mysticism is used for magic weapon fusions and magic items. And hybrid items use both engineering and mysticism. This is because you're weaving both magic and technology together. Magic items can be anything crafted from, say, if you want to bring back the Yield Belt of Dwarven Kind into Starfinder, or if you wanted to use a hybrid item to make, say, a magic mask that conceals the identity of a certain ne'er-do-well or scoundrel that's able to use a disguise self spell to guard your appearance from technology, and the technological portion to cover you from anything that will be able to see through magic with a holographic display. Life and physical science is used to make things like from drugs, medicine, poisons, space crack, things like that. Life science is used for things like food and drink. I would suspect this is possibly because, you need to have a fair amount of life science to know which plants or, mushrooms or animals are venomous or poisonous or toxic, and drink to know when it's safe to collect rainwater and how to boil it and take the radiation out of it and things like that. Computers and engineering can be used to construct computers of the appropriate tier. This can be done with if you're a computer science major, or you get a certificate in engineering. Both of them will come to the conclusion of knowing how to put Adele together. Not the singer Adele. Adele is already well put together as having a fabulous singing career, a wonderful voice, as well as I like Adele. Miscellaneous items such as clothing, tents, little hats, chairs, things like that. These can be used for engineering, mysticism, physical science. This can really be done at the DM's discretion, using common sense. Things like an engineer would know more about making a chair, where a mystic would know about forming some magic dust together to blind somebody, where it's not just shards of glass. Crafting requires tools, a workspace, and time. The time is a base time of 4 hours. Half of the time if you have 5 ranks and skill above the item level, and a quarter time if you have 10 ranks above the level. Items larger than the medium creatures, like larger than 6 foot tall guy, take 2 times longer for items for each size increment. So if you have a large item, it's going to take, and you don't have the 5 or 10 ranks in engineering higher than whatever you're trying to cobble together, whether it be like a large tab machine that you cobble together a flamethrower onto, maybe some walker legs, something like that. Large item would probably be 8 hours. Giant item paper takes 16, doubling the increment there for that for each one. You must also have UBPs equal to the item's value. The 10% of that can also be supplemented by salvage materials. I don't really like this that much, just mainly because if somebody does have enough salvage items, if they do have a high enough engineering score, I would totally allow somebody to strip down a refrigerator and be able to make an AC unit with enough freon and spare parts and things like that without too much of a hard time. And UBPs are also used for mysticism items as well, because you can finagle and reshape UBPs into being whatever raw materials you're thinking of. So it can be certain precious stones or rune shapes, things like that, to craft certain magic items, which totally makes sense because of how malleable UBPs are, and it also gives them a use to be traded at sort of possibly a higher value than standard credits would be, depending on the system that you're in, because the ability to create or remold something could definitely be more valuable than simply credits or cash. With the appropriate skill, you can also repair items you've crafted in half the normal time that it typically takes with items that you haven't made yourself. This could be roleplayed as you already know all the inner workings of said item, so you do know a bit more how to repair certain things, wires are busted, certain things like that. Hardness, hit points, and saving throws are also 2 times higher for items you craft, because you're really putting your heart and soul into making this better than certain mass-produced items. Hardness can be found on page 409 of the Starfinder core rulebook. A few reasons why I would prefer crafting an item over buying one. The availability of the exact item the player would want. This can be, say, sort of if you are looking for a mask to just hide your identity so you can move from system to system without too much detection, but you don't need any sort of special invisibility cloak or anything like that. You could make a less expensive item to just disguise your face, or if there is a certain weapon fusion that you want that's not mass produced, say you want something that deals a little bit of acid damage or is able to corrode just a specific kind of material, such as stone. If you have a heist mission you're going into, you could definitely do some time to take some prep work into making this with your crew for a very specific job. It's also good for a character trying to keep the ownership of an item secret, such as if you're making illicit drugs, an illegal weapon, or certain items such as magic items are taboo in whatever game that you are making. Like an item that can be used to turn a dead corpse into a zombie thrall would definitely not fly too far with EOX. Or if you are a Eagle campaign, if you are designed to stealth space croc, well, best of luck to you, I guess. Also, crafting items is a good downtime activity and role-playing opportunity that should not be overlooked. In DMs, I would really recommend encouraging groups to craft an item and really listening into what kind of items they want to craft, considering where to find certain materials, if they want to find certain schematics that really allow your mechanic player or your technomancer to be more than just something on the battlefield. If there's ever a time where a player in my game wants to craft something, I would give them the way to within reason, just so that their player can feel more unique and they've actually done something. A few things I would change about crafting is I haven't seen any makeshift items for like a sort of more, if you're playing a Rage style game or a Borderlands style game, anything like that, or it's more rust punk, if that's a word for it, or anything like that. There's no mention of other players being able to use the help action to either lower the time or resources needed or increasing the potential item level to make a more potent item, whether it be a hybrid item with your engineer or your mechanic working together with your mystic to make a truly great weapon or spell very effectively with bonding technology and magic, since those things are so interwoven together, especially in Starfinder. I would suppose you can use the same help action rules as you normally would find in, say, skill checks. One thing I would also recommend, if two people were making either an item or trying to create something to survive, maybe determine a good place to make a well. Have both your life science and your physical science people get together. They'll both have to make a certain set number of skill checks in their respective schools. That way that they can add the bonus onto whoever's the one in charge of the project to make this well or make whatever they're doing. With this, the amount of ranks into whatever you're crafting, it does have to be equal to the item level you're making. If you're a technomancer with 4 ranks into engineering, you would be able to make a 4th level weapon, if that makes sense. So the higher you are in engineering, the greater a weapon you can make. This would encourage players to add more ranks into something that's not particularly martial or has some sort of combat role like stealth or anything like that, to put that into a crafting ability. Anyway, this has been an overview of crafting in Starfinder. Thanks again for watching 20 Sided Nights. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and bye for now.